started the transatlantic slave trade is none other than Pope Nicholas V, right? Pope Nicholas V. And he was one of the red popes back in the day before, I believe it was one of the popes, Leo. I'm not sure. I had to go back and read some more. A lot of the popes wore red. And this particular red pope, Pope Nicholas V, started the transatlantic slave trade. And here's a receipt, one of many, where you can back it up with written, documented history. All right. This is Encyclopedia Britannica. Although he did much to bring about ecclesiastical and political peace, his diplomacy is not without criticism. In 1452, that's before 1492, where Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? In 1452, Pope Nicholas V issued a papal bull entitled Dum Diversas, which authorized King Alfonso V of Portugal to conquer Saracens or Muslims and pagans, or in other words, anybody that did not bow down to Roman Catholicism, which they called Christianity. Okay, because you, like I said it many times before, you got two different types of Christianity. You got Bible Christianity and you got Roman Christianity. It's big difference. Big difference. You and let me see. Give you an example. Now I just tried it just because the other day. I tried it on my phone. I Googled. No, I didn't Google. I got a Bible app on my phone, Bible Gateway. And so I typed in there, sometimes you may forget where to look for a certain scripture is. I typed in there one of the things. Now I had big thick a big thick Catholic Bible when I was living in Louisville, Kentucky, right? And it shows you all kind of stuff in there, show you about the rosary beads, rubbing them through your hands and all that. And I said, one of the things that I actually asked a Catholic person this year, something I didn't know about that I could have, went through the Catholic Bible about, but I forgot. I asked them, I said, what are indulgences? They said, I don't know. I'm like, wow, you were raised Catholic and you don't know what that means or what that's about. So I looked it up on my Bible app to see if it's in the Bible. Not in the Bible. So why do they do it? If it's not in the Bible, and they're supposed to be ecclesiastical scholars, you know, like like Easter, you can't find that in the Bible. Christmas, you can't find that in the Bible, etc., etc. These are traditions of man, just like Jesus warned us in Matthew 15. He is against the traditions of man. Man come up with all kind of stuff that is not biblically accurate. Okay, like in a couple of days you got Memorial Day, right? You got Memorial Day coming up in a couple of days. But the Lord has the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets in the Bible. You can't find Memorial Day in the Bible. Big difference. See, we have to be enlightened and awakened and aware of what's going on. So, anyway, back to Papa or Vicarious Philly Day, or whatever you want to call it. Now, he is the vicar of Christ, which means substitute for the Son of God on earth. And I showed y'all a long time ago, years ago, that the mindset of the popes, I believe starting with Pope Pius X, they say that The Pope is not just a representative, he is Jesus Christ under the veil of the flesh. This is their mindset. They think they God. They want to be worshipped. And that goes to show you that they are they are a little puffed up. Okay. So we just had one recently pass away, which was Pope Francis. Okay. I actually thought that he was the AOD, but I'm like, he was kind of timid and soft. This, this one could be the AOD because of the simple fact that he spent so much time in Peru. He's from Chicago. He's the first American Pope, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Now, the one that started the transatlantic slave trade is that although he did much to bring about ecclesiastical and political peace, his diplomacy is not without criticism. In 1452, Pope Nicholas V issued a papal bull entitled Dum Diversas, which authorized King Alfonso V of Portugal to conquer, hence the Inquisition, right? To conquer Saracens or Muslims and pagans, anybody that's not uh, worshiping in the Catholic faith, in a disputed territory in Africa. Where's that? The west coast of Africa, right? Hence, like I showed you in my Into Egypt Again with Ships videos, Negro land. I got other historical documents that show and prove that they knew exactly who they were hunting down in the Inquisition when they went to Africa. They were hunting down those so-called quote unquote Africans that were practicing Judaism, and they were not converts. Okay, which other documentation will tell you that they are the descendants of King David. Okay, I show that to you at another time. But they knew they was not Hamites. Okay, they knew they weren't Africans just living in the African continent. Anyway, in a disputed territory in Africa, and consigned them to perpetual servitude or perpetual slavery. It has been argued that these are Catholics, right? These are so-called Christians, right? And they so sweet, right? Mm. Find out and do your research on who was the biggest torturers back then. It has been argued that this and the subsequent bull Romanus Pontifex issued by Nicholas in 1455 gave the Portuguese the rights to acquire slaves along the African coast by force or trade. The edicts, uh, are thus seen as having facilitated the Portuguese slave trade, as having legitimized the European colonization of the African continent. Okay, so this is just one of many receipts, that the world is oblivious to, and then you got all these people that are, college educated, but it's things in Cambridge University, uh, University of Chicago Press. It's things Yale University. It's things and documents in these universities and colleges, places that people went, that they have no clue of and they have no knowledge of. And then they, you got that's why you have to stay humble. You can't make it seem like you know every damn thing, because you don't. You know. So these, you got the first American Pope, okay? the first American Pope. That's a first. And he is from the Augustinian order. You got the Franciscans and the Dominicans, and you got the Augustinian order, which, by the way, were brutal when it came to slavery. So, with that saying, peace and blessings multiplied.